Greetings, Glenn Douglas, pastor over Connect and groups here at Lake City. And we are here doing some training on what is at the core, what causes our groups to actually work. And there is some strategy to it. In the strategies that we have, strategy one is a three-legged stool. A three-legged stool is stable, it's strong, and in the three-legged stool you have God's Word, you have caring for His people, and you have service and outreach. And that's a separate session, but it ties together with the other two. The one we're going to talk about right now on this video is what's called the Flying Wedge. And that's a unique and kind of odd name, and as you look at this diagram, you should have it there in front of you as well. Pull it out from your packet. Have that in front of you as I speak so you can look at it. The purpose is to understand these three different strategies, how they work, how they complement one another, and then how it allows you to be very effective in the teaching and leading of your small group. So they work together, and each one has a unique focus. This one's focus is kind of a dynamic focus of how Bible study, caring, and service happen together. And what do you mean happen together? Well, at some point in time, right down here, your group begins. It starts. You find some people that are willing to come to your house and hang out, and you've got everything set and everything ready, and you kick off your group. That's a starting point. And then your group travels along over time, all the way down here to where your group ends. Every group begins and every group ends at some point in time. The important part of this strategy is what happens during the time your group is meeting. So let's dig a little deeper. So you have beginning, you have end time, you have your different components that you've already seen on the three-legged stool. Let's talk about what this flying wedge is showing us. As you begin, the error, the mistake that almost every leader says, well, I have to do Bible study, I have to care for the people in my group, I have to have my prayer time, I have to take care of that, and then we also have to serve and be involved in reaching outside our group. So what we tend to do is we will tend to separate those three in three co-equal parts. Doesn't work. It never will work. It's a problem. And so it seems out of balance right off the beginning. Here's what you need to change. When you begin your group over here, the majority of your group time is caring and building relationship, deepening the relationship with God, and we deepen our relationship with one another as we get to know each other. We get to tell about our journeys, the families we grew up in, where we came from, what state we lived in. I mean, it goes on and on. But that part has to be significant at the beginning. Otherwise, you don't get to know your people. And if you don't get to know your people and they don't know you and they don't think that you care about them, you will never get to a healthy group. So it's important. But here's where the difficulty comes in. The Bible study, if you are great at studying God's Word, you want to dig in deep and put the Bible study in that middle position. Well, if you do that, you'll have an unbalanced group because you will be communicating what's important to us is to study the Word, and yes, relationships and caring for one another, those are important, but they're way less important. Do I say we don't study the Bible? No, we do. Every meeting, you always have some truth from God's Word, but at the beginning of your group meeting, that portion is smaller. And it's the same down here. If you are like wired by God to be a missionary or to go out and do acts of service, you're going to want to take service and put it right here in place of caring. What will happen, do you have any idea what will happen? Over a little bit of time, if all of your focus is on serving and there's very little caring or Bible study, your group will get burnt out. They will get tired of doing things. So it's a thing we have to watch. What your strength is becomes often the weakness of the group. So I'm going to challenge you. When you begin your group, spend lots of time caring. Talk a little bit about your study. Talk a little bit about your service. And then over time, it comes to a point where those are really pretty balanced. A healthy group is balanced between serving and caring for one another and studying God's Word. And then there will become a balance, and the relationship will carry the balance. Because if your group knows that you love Jesus and you love them, and they know that you want to lead the group into serving and to studying the Bible, they will follow you if they know you love them. So care for them first, build the relationships, then bring in depth in Bible study and service. And then down here, there's this dotted line. I don't know where that point in time is for you. Every group has a different timeline on how long they'll meet. Sometimes it's short, sometimes it's a year, maybe it's multiple years, but some point, something will happen here. Either you will end the group, celebrate, and then maybe go off and begin new groups, new ministries, or it may come to a point where, some people left, they moved away, God called them back from Idaho to California. All kinds of things can happen. Maybe they're just tired of this group, they want to go somewhere else, but there's a point where there's a change in your group. And when that change happens, you just don't keep going. You stop, you celebrate. That's what this is. See, the caring is going way big again. We celebrate what Jesus has done, what he's done in our group. And then you either end your group or you restart a group anew. Maybe some of them are the same ones from the past. But you invite new people into the journey. And really, at this point, it brings you right back to the group beginning. So again, the Flying Wedge is a little bit challenging when you look at it, but it really isn't when you think about it. The challenge is for all of us, we will want to operate in our strengths. That's what I do. But your strength will usually get you in trouble because you overemphasize your strength at the expense of other areas that need to be tended to. So it is a team effort. It is a group. There are going to be others who are going to help you with this if you'll allow them. So the Flying Wedge is a dynamic representation of what happens in your group over time. And your coach is going to be willing to work with you and assess where you are with your group. So strategy 1, three-legged stool. Strategy 2 is the Flying Wedge. And then the next session, you're going to hear about the final strategy, which is a baseball diamond. And looking forward to working with you and encouraging you on your journey.